Guys, welcome back to Whiskey and Wrestling. It's Friday night. I'm pretty beat, worn out from the week, and there is no better way to relax than with a little bit of whiskey and some old school wrestling. How do you like the new improved Whiskey and Wrestling studio, huh? Oh, guys. So I need some old school in my life. I've just ever since WrestleMania, I've got no time for any of the new stuff. I tried to watch like Raw, a couple Raws, and I couldn't get through 20 minutes. I tried to watch NXT. I used to love NXT, and I couldn't get through 10 minutes, man. Like it's just not good stuff. Tonight I'm drinking Benchmark. I wanted to celebrate the new studio, the new office, with the cheapest whiskey that I could find. This was like 11 bucks. Oh man, it's got a it's got a very nail polishy nose to it. All ethanol and booze. I can't pull any notes out of it. Any bourbon notes, any whiskey notes. What is this? Not bad on the taste. Pretty boozy, kind of sweet on the taste. You know, there's not much. There's a little bit of like bourbon in like on the back. Like you get those bourbon flavors, the kind of caramel, some of those herbal tea notes. That's kind of sweet tea, but like very much on the back of the tongue. Almost aftertaste on it. There's a match I've been wanting to talk about. Roddy Piper versus Greg Valentine in the dog collar match at Starrcade. You know, it's one of those that gets thrown back to. Man, you know, guys talk about it like it's this epic match, this epic encounter, and I've seen the match a lot of times. But it's been a long time, and you know, wrestling tastes come and go, and right now while I'm in a particularly old school mood, I thought it'd be a good one for me to go back and kind of break down a little bit. But then as I was thinking about it, why don't I just watch that whole pay-per-view? Starrcade 83. Alright, match number 1. The Assassins with Paul Jones versus Rufus R. Jones and Bugsy McGraw. Man, these guys are going to make it really hard for me to defend old school versus new school. You know, one of the things you hear about so often is that like the old school is so much more realistic and, you know, more believable. Jim Cornette talks about how believable the old school was all the time, and man, that was not this match. I didn't believe a single punch thrown in this match. The Assassins, you know, they just had these like black bodysuits on and their masks, and man, Bugsy McGraw just looked like this fat old man, and Rufus R. Jones looked like this out of shape older man. I don't even know, man. They were both doing these ants in the pants dances, and I don't know that I could say it's better than the new school, because it's not. So match number 2 was Johnny Weaver and Scott McGee versus Kevin Sullivan and Mark Lewin with Gary Hart. You know, I honestly only know one of these guys. I feel like I should know more of these guys than this. But Johnny Weaver and Mark Lewin were both a couple old guys. Scott McGee, you know, honestly, the thing that stood out the most about this match to me is like it's just obviously a different mindset to today. Like these were some like man's men, whatever. Like none of them shaved, none of them waxed. You know, even though they were in great shape, they all had their manly hair, you know, and nowadays, you know, we came through the 80s and got so many, you know, Ultimate Warriors and these bodybuilders that like waxed and shaved themselves clean, and it's just kind of like I found myself noticing that. We did have a promo with, I'm pretty sure, a 12-year-old Tony Schiavone. That was pretty funny to see. Gordon Soley accused Kevin Sullivan of being a druid, or he said people accused Kevin Sullivan of being a druid, and I know Kevin Sullivan would go on, or was already, or prior to this, whatever, like he did a sort of satanic gimmick, but it just seemed kind of funny to me that they used the word druid. I don't know if that was a thing. Maybe that was like his thing. I didn't watch a lot of Florida wrestling. Carlos Colon versus Abdullah the Butcher. The match that was banned in Puerto Rico because it got so wild, crazy, out of control. This match was not good. Next match, first of all, was Wahoo McDaniel and Mark Youngblood versus Cowboy Bob and Dick Slater. And this is the kind of, this is the old school wrestling that I've been looking for, that I wanted to see, right? And watching this match, I really tried to pick out the things that made it different from a more modern match, because these guys were very athletic, these guys did a lot of moves, and it still just felt different. And I think what I've come down to is that different feeling is, you know, they don't do anything that requires cooperation. This looked like a fight, it looked like a struggle all the way through, even if, you know, if you take the guys from today, the modern wrestlers, who their punches look good, their moves look legit, they still do a bunch of stuff that requires cooperation. These spots where they're waiting, or they're watching each other for timing, and it takes away that fighting feeling, that struggle, and it just becomes like a gymnastics routine. What was really neat to notice, man, just how smooth Cowboy Bob Orton is in the ring, and he moves like Randy does so much. It's cool to see. If you haven't seen a lot of young Bob Orton, go watch some young Bob Orton. Match after that, NWA TV title versus The Mask. Charlie Brown from Out of Town versus Kabuki with Gary Hart. This match was a lot, like it was a lot more vicious than I expected. Charlie Brown from Out of Town is the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, and to see him, you know, like he still did all the Boogie Woogie stuff, but he was also like fired up. It was really neat. I haven't seen a lot of Jimmy Valiant in my day. This match was fun. He beat the tar out of the great Kabuki. Woo! All right. This was the one I came for. This is the reason I watched this tonight. The next match was Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine. Dog collar match for the US title, whatever. This match is everything I've been talking about, well, I guess the last 2 days now, because this match is all emotion. Like, legit, they do one wrestling move, one wrestling hold, and the rest is just punches, kicks, beating each other with the chain. This match is something else, and you know, I think every time I watch it, certainly this time, we'll just talk about this time because I can't even remember the last time I watched it, but this time watching this match, it is everything. I don't want to say it's everything that it's always hyped up to be, but I can see why it gets that hype. The epicness of this match all comes through Roddy Piper. Now, Greg Valentine plays a great vicious heel, and you know, he's this roadblock, this human cannonball in the ring with Roddy Piper that Piper is trying to overcome. But the way Piper sells this match and sells everything in this match, and the fire he has, the desperation he finds, like, this is an Oscar-worthy performance. Roddy Piper makes this match as epic as it is. I mean, basically, it's the Rocky story. He's fighting this monster. He needs his revenge against this monster, but also at the same time, this beast, this Greg Valentine is, got it. He's vicious in himself. He's formidable, and so he's taking it to Piper. And man, when I say taking it to each other, these guys spent that entire match, I'm pretty sure, just throwing real punches. I won't even give this like old school credit for looking more legit, because they were just for real punching each other. There was no art to the punching, to the strikes. Like, it all looked legit because it was. Both guys were bleeding and tired, but what really makes this match special is how Piper creates the struggle, and watching Piper fade and come back and find these little bursts and then get stopped again, and it's this roller coaster that you're going on with Piper, where you're just like, oh, come on, Piper, you got more, don't let him do it to you, Piper. Oh man, it just brings all that stuff to the top. If you haven't seen this match, if you haven't seen it in a while, it is one to watch. Oh man. Wrestling. Okay, the next match was Jack and Jerryriscoe, former champions, huge names in the NWA, versus Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. And there are not two better high energy wrestling heroes in the history of wrestling than Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. Man, they had fire, they had energy, they were good looking guys, they were like just these consummate good guys out there. And then Jack and Jerryriscoe, these grizzled old veterans that, had the experience edge, had a little bit more viciousness. Oh man, and this match, guys, I can't tell you, this match was classic wrestling, probably at its best. I mean, we've still got huge main event coming, but for now, man, this match, for me, this match kind of stole the show. I know I've seen this card before, I've seen this show, I don't remember this match. I know I've seen Jack and Jerryriscoe and Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. I don't know that I've ever seen them wrestle each other outside of this show, but this match, guys, this is what wrestling's all about. And I got so drawn in watching this match. The cool thing, too, is that, like, Jack and Jerryriscoe are such consummate wrestlers. For them, they got in that ring and they really went to work, and you really saw, I feel like, what this business is supposed to be. Oh man, go check this one out. I want to go ahead and take a moment now. A couple of notes, weird things that I've noticed. First of all, after this match, Gordon Soley goes on this long. He reads the credits. Like he reads off the credits. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. He read like every credit, executive producer, director, and on down to the cameraman, and like he read through the whole credits. And it's the weirdest thing. I've never seen anything like that before. The other thing, man, to go and watch this show, they do all these backstage promos and interviews in the locker room, right? There's the good guy locker room, there's the bad guy locker room, and they keep going back to these locker rooms interviewing Ric Flair. And first of all, this Ric Flair is not the Ric Flair we know. This is an interesting Flair to see. He's very subdued, very calm, very like pro athlete Ric Flair. The bad guys, there has been no screaming and yelling and I'm gonna get you, come on down, you can't, like what I think of when I think of like old school wrestling promos. There's really been none of that. Now, to say that also, most of these promos and interviews are not good. Not that they're bad, but they are not none of them are like selling me on the match. None of them are selling me on like the storyline. None of them are energizing me. They're just kind of like, you know, these calm, subdued. A lot of them are, you know, like kind of choppy even. And Tony Schiavone, who can't be more than 14 at this time, he's I mean, worse than he would become, you know, and he seems very unsure, and like he'll start to ask a question and kind of stutter and then just kind of shove the microphone in their face. It's really not what we've come to expect from backstage wrestling and promos and things like that. Main event, a Flair for the gold. 7-time NWA champion Harley Race versus Ric Flair. I don't know how many times. 2-time, 3-time. They said it a bunch. I don't really remember how many times he was a champion at this point. So, one, I always forget this match is a cage match. 2, this match... I gotta admit, this match lost me, okay? It's not quite the epic battle that Piper and Valentine was. And, you know, it's very well done, okay? I don't want to give the wrong impression here, like, this is some classic wrestling, this is some great storytelling, and these are two of the greatest of all time, and they're out there doing what they do best. And you know, there's a few things that I think maybe worked against them. One, it was in a cage, so they kind of used the cage. They kind of didn't use the cage. You know, the cage was out there more so to keep, because Harley Race had put a $25,000 bounty on Ric Flair's head. So, like, the cage was more there to keep people out as much as it was to keep people in. They had Gene Kiniski was the champion, or not, he wasn't the champion, I mean, he was the referee, he was the guest referee. And I thought that was real interesting because, you know, I have to think that Flair and Harley Race looked at Gene Kiniski the way I would look at Flair and Harley Race. You know, here's Gene Kiniski, this former champion, a man who was like, you know, a pioneer of his time and one of the all-time greats when Harley and Flair were coming up, and now, you know, he's refereeing this match. From a purely, like, from an inside baseball, from a wrestler standpoint, man, Gene Kiniski as a referee was in the way constantly. I would have been so frustrated trying to work with Gene Kiniski in the ring the way they did. And I don't know that didn't play into some of, like, when it started to drag a little bit. You know, the other thing too is in myself, I'd expended an awful lot of energy. I got really into Piper and the Hammer, and I got really into the tag match with the Briscoes and Youngblood and Steamboat. So, you know, I didn't come into the match, I didn't come into this main event with, you know, my full attention, my full energy. That definitely had a bit to do with it, and that's, you know, that's definitely a thing that wrestlers have to be aware of. Sometimes a crowd, sometimes your audience. Tonight is just me, but still, you know, sometimes if there's a couple great matches, like back to back to back, like, you know, or a bunch of matches, eventually you only have so much energy as a fan. Guys, this is just good fun, and that's what wrestling should be, whether it's new or old. And when I watch new wrestling, I don't have fun. When I watch old wrestling, I have so much fun. It brings the love of it back out of me. And even though I was not a fan, man, I was 2 when this show happened. I barely would have been able to comprehend what was going on if I had seen it. But to go back and watch it, and I'm almost 40, Man, I have a ball doing it. Exactly what I needed on this Friday night. And so, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I raise this glass to you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this review. And, yeah.